You are not in control, not of your emotions, your desires, or even your own mind. The world provokes you and you react, like a puppet, tugged by unseen strings. But what if I told you that true power is not found in controlling others, but in mastering yourself? Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, understood this better than anyone. He saw how men chained themselves, not with iron, but with fear, anger, and impulse. He knew the secret to breaking free. And yet, most people today remain prisoners of their own minds, reacting, complaining, blaming, complaining. Here's the harsh truth. If you cannot govern yourself, someone else will. Your emotions will dictate your actions. Society will shape your thoughts. And in the end, you will be nothing more than a product of external forces. But it doesn't have to be this way. Because today, you will discover 15 Stoic lessons from Seneca that will change everything. Lessons that will fortify your mind, sharpen your will, and grant you an unshakable inner strength. Ready to reclaim control? Let's begin. Number 1. Mastering the mind. Why reaction is weakness. You think you're in control, but the truth is you're not. Every time someone insults you, you flare up. When things don't go your way, you complain. A bad day ruins your entire mood. If the world can dictate how you feel, then you are not the master. You are the servant. Seneca warned us of this weakness centuries ago. He said, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." Yet, look around. How many people are truly in their own power? Most are prisoners of their emotions, reacting, overthinking, lashing out. They live as if they are free, but in reality they are controlled by external forces. The Stoics understood one fundamental truth. Reaction is slavery. Mastery is response. When you react, you are giving away your power. When you respond with discipline, you reclaim it. Consider Marcus Aurelius, leader of the most powerful empire in the world. Did he react with anger when betrayed? No. Did he crumble under stress? Never. He understood that emotions are wild animals. You either tame them, or they control you. Here's the hard truth. If you cannot control your emotions, someone else will. They will provoke you, manipulate you, push your buttons until you break. But if you master the mind, nothing can shake you. The next time you feel anger rising, pause. Observe it. Do not react. This is where true power lies, not in dominance over others, but in mastery over yourself. And this is just the first step, because next you'll learn the one thing that separates the weak from the strong: pain. Number 2. Pain is power. How hardship shapes the strongest minds. Most people fear pain. They run from discomfort, avoid struggle, and crave an easy life. But here's the brutal truth. Comfort makes you weak. Pain makes you powerful. Seneca understood this deeply. He wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." The Stoics didn't just accept hardship, they welcomed it. Because they knew one thing most people today have forgotten. Suffering is the birthplace of strength. Think about it. Who are the strongest people you know? Are they the ones who had an easy life? No. They're the ones who endured. The ones who faced adversity and refused to break. Pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher. Every hardship is a test, and every test is an opportunity to become stronger. Consider Epictetus. Born a slave, crippled and stripped of freedom, he had every reason to be bitter. But he didn't complain. He didn't curse his fate. Instead, he embraced it. He understood that hardship was forging him into something greater. His suffering became his strength. And that is what made him unbreakable. You see, weakness comes from avoiding struggle. Strength comes from enduring it. Pain forces you to grow. It burns away weakness, leaving only resilience behind. Every great leader, every warrior, every master of the mind, they were all forged in fire. So the next time life hits you hard, don't curse it. Don't retreat. Stand firm. Because in that moment of suffering, you are being shaped into something greater. And once you break free from the chains of desire, you will unlock a level of power most never reach. Number 3, desires are chains. Learn to break free. Look around you. People chase wealth, status, pleasure, believing these things will bring them happiness. But the moment they get what they want, they crave something else: a bigger house, a faster car, more recognition, more validation, and so they remain trapped, slaves to their own desires. Seneca warned us about this illusion. He said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. That is poor." The problem isn't that people don't have enough, it's that they always want more. And in that endless pursuit, they become prisoners, shackled by their own cravings. Imagine a man running on a treadmill. No matter how fast he moves, he stays in the same place. That's what chasing desires looks like. You think you're moving forward, but you're just exhausting yourself. The Stoics understood this trap and taught a radical idea. True freedom is not getting what you want. It's wanting less. Look at the world's most powerful figures: kings, emperors, billionaires. Many of them are restless, anxious, and unsatisfied. Why? Because the more they have, the more they fear losing it. They are not free. They are chained. The man who constantly fears losing what he owns is just as much a prisoner as the man locked in a cell. Seneca himself was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, yet he practiced living with nothing. He deliberately slept on the floor, ate simple meals, and trained his mind to be indifferent to luxuries. Why? Because he understood that if you can live without something, it can never control you. Think about your own life. What controls you? Is it money, social status, the approval of others? If losing it would make you miserable, then you don't own it. It owns you. The way out of this trap is detachment. Not in a way that rejects life's pleasures, but in a way that removes their power over you. It means enjoying success without being enslaved by it, appreciating wealth without fearing its loss, loving others without needing their validation. Epictetus put it simply: wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The fewer desires you have, the freer you become. The less you need, the more unshakable you are. Imagine waking up tomorrow with nothing: no money, no status, no comforts. Would you crumble? Or would you remain centered because you've trained yourself to need nothing? That is true strength. That is real freedom. And once you master your desires, you'll discover the greatest illusion of all: control itself. Number 4, the illusion of control, what you're getting wrong. You plan your day, you set your goals, you expect things to go a certain way. But then, life happens. Someone cuts you off in traffic, a deal falls through, a friend betrays you, and suddenly frustration takes over. Anger, stress, anxiety. Why? Because deep down, you believe you are in control. But here's the truth: you control almost nothing. Seneca warned us about this illusion centuries ago. He said, "Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant," meaning, the universe doesn't care about your plans. Things will happen with or without your approval. Yet people waste their lives trying to control the uncontrollable, obsessing over what others think, worrying about outcomes, trying to force life to bend to their will. The Stoics understood a fundamental truth: the more you try to control everything, the more you suffer. Because control is an illusion. You don't control the economy, you don't control other people's actions, you don't even control what thoughts arise in your mind. What you control, the only thing you ever control, is how you respond. Consider Marcus Aurelius. He was the emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the world. But did he control when wars would break out, when disease would spread, when those closest to him would die? No. What he controlled was his mind, his reactions, his discipline. That's why, despite the chaos surrounding him, he remained unshaken. Now think about your own life. How much energy have you wasted worrying about things beyond your control? How many hours have you spent angry at circumstances you couldn't change? This is self-imposed suffering. And suffering ends the moment you accept this one truth: you don't control what happens, but you always control how you respond. Let's test this. Imagine 2 people lose their jobs. The first one panics, blaming the economy, feeling like a victim, spiraling into despair. The second takes a breath, accepts reality, and asks, "What can I do next?" Same situation, different response. One is enslaved by circumstance, the other is free. This is what the Stoics mastered. the ability to stay calm in the storm. They didn't waste time controlling what couldn't be controlled. They focused only on what was theirs, their thoughts, their choices, their actions. So ask yourself, are you exhausting yourself trying to control the uncontrollable? Or are you mastering the one thing that is always in your hands, your response? Because once you shift your focus from control to self-mastery, life no longer controls you. You become untouchable. And once you learn to act with purpose instead of impulse, you unlock the true power of deliberate action. Number 5. The art of deliberate action. Think before you move. Most people live on autopilot. They react without thinking, rush into decisions, and let emotions dictate their actions. They move not because they have chosen to, but because they've been pushed. But here's what the Stoics knew. Impulse is weakness. Deliberation is power. Seneca warned us of this when he said, "Nothing is more wretched than a man who goes aimlessly drifting." Yet, look at the world. How many people truly think before they act? How many actually stop, pause, and consider their next move? Instead, they jump into arguments, make rash decisions, chase fleeting pleasures, only to regret it later. They are slaves to impulse, ruled by emotion instead of reason. The Stoics understood a fundamental truth. Every action must be chosen, not forced. To move with purpose is to move with power, and to move with power, you must first be still. Take Marcus Aurelius. As Emperor of Rome, he had the power to destroy anyone who opposed him. Yet he rarely acted out of anger or impulse. He trained himself to pause, to reflect, to ask, is this the right move? Is this necessary? His strength wasn't just in action, it was in restraint. And because of that, he never let emotions drag him into foolish decisions. Contrast that with the average person. Someone insults them and they lash out. An opportunity appears and they jump in without thinking. They mistake movement for progress, not realizing that speed without direction leads nowhere. Now imagine a warrior in battle. He doesn't swing wildly, hoping to hit something. He waits. He observes. He moves with precision. One strike, one deliberate action. That is the difference between a reckless fighter and a master. The same applies to life. Every action you take, every word you speak, every decision you make should be like that warrior's strike. Calculated, precise, necessary. So how do you cultivate deliberate action? The Stoics gave us a simple but powerful rule. Pause before you act. When you feel anger, stop. When faced with a decision, breathe. When life demands urgency, slow down. This single habit separates those who are controlled by the world from those who control themselves. Because here's the truth, it's not just about doing things right, it's about doing the right things. The world is full of people who are busy but few who are effective. Some climb the wrong ladder, others chase the wrong goals. But the ones who think before they move, they are the ones who succeed. So the next time you feel the urge to react, to rush, to act without thinking, pause. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this wise? Because once you learn to control your actions, you begin to master your destiny. And once you stop wasting time on meaningless pursuits, you'll understand the most valuable resource you will ever have, time itself. Number 6, Seneca's rule on time. Stop wasting your life. You think you have time. That's the greatest lie you tell yourself. You say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll start when I'm ready. But the truth is, time is slipping away right now as you read this. And once it's gone, you never get it back. Seneca saw this illusion clearly. He wrote, "We are not given a short life, but we make it short. We waste so much of it." Look around. How many people live as if they are immortal? They waste hours scrolling mindlessly, arguing over nonsense, chasing things that don't matter. They let days slip through their fingers, never realizing that every wasted moment is a moment closer to death. Here's the harsh reality. You are dying. Every second, every breath. Yet people act as if time is infinite. They spend years in meaningless jobs, stay in relationships that drain them, and put off their dreams, thinking they have time. But Seneca reminds us, you don't own time, you only borrow it, and one day your loan will be called in. Think of it like this. If someone stole your money, you'd be furious. But when time is stolen, through distractions, procrastination, and mindless entertainment, you let it happen without a second thought. Why do you guard your money but waste your time? One can be regained, the other never can. Consider how the greatest minds in history treated time. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire, still found time for deep reflection. Epictetus, though born a slave, used every moment to strengthen his mind. They understood that how you spend your time determines the quality of your life. So what's the solution? Radical awareness of time. The Stoics practiced memento mori, the remembrance of death, not to be morbid, but to stay focused. Every day, remind yourself, this could be your last. If you lived with that awareness, how much time would you still waste? Seneca advises us to reclaim our time like a lost fortune. Cut out the distractions. Stop waiting for the right time to start. Eliminate what doesn't matter, because every someday is a lie. Ask yourself, if you had 1 year left to live, what would you do differently? Now realize, you don't know how much time you have. So why wait? Live urgently. Act deliberately. Use your time as if it is running out, because it is. And once you stop clinging to what you can't control, you'll unlock the greatest freedom of all. Peace of mind. Number 7. Detach from the uncontrollable, the key to inner peace. Most people live in a constant state of stress, not because life is difficult, but because they are clinging to things they cannot control. They worry about what others think, obsess over the past, fear the future. They try to force life to go their way, only to be disappointed when it doesn't. The Stoics saw through this illusion. Epictetus, once a slave, taught the most powerful truth of all. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. And yet most people spend their lives fighting battles they can never win, trying to control people, circumstances, even fate itself. Here's the reality. You suffer not because of what happens to you, but because of your attachment to outcomes. You want success, but the market crashes. You want love, but someone leaves. You want certainty, but life is unpredictable. The more you try to control the uncontrollable, the more you will suffer. Think of a man trying to hold on to water. The tighter he grips, the more it slips through his fingers. This is how most people live, desperately holding on to things that were never in their control. And that is why they are never at peace. Consider Marcus Aurelius. As emperor, he faced betrayals, plagues, and wars. He could have fought against reality, but instead he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He understood that peace is not found in controlling the world, but in letting go of what you cannot change. So how do you practice detachment? The Stoics give us a simple rule. Focus only on what is yours to control. Your actions, your thoughts, your choices. Everything else? Let it be. You cannot force people to treat you right. You cannot guarantee success. You cannot make life fair. But you can control how you respond. And that is where true power lies. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means liberation. It means loving deeply but not clinging. Striving for success but not fearing failure. Accepting life as it is, not as you wish it to be. It means waking up every day and saying, "I will do my best and let go of the rest." Imagine the weight that would lift from your shoulders if you truly embraced this. No more fear, no more anxiety, no more frustration over things beyond your control. Just pure, unshakable, inner peace. Detach and you will be free. And once you master this, you will understand the true meaning of resilience. Number 8, why emotions lie and how to see clearly. Your emotions are not the truth. They are reactions, temporary, deceptive, and often misleading. Yet most people let them dictate their lives. They act out of anger, make decisions out of fear, and chase happiness like a drug, only to be left empty when it fades. They mistake emotions for reality. The Stoics knew this was dangerous. Seneca warned, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Meaning, most of your pain isn't from what actually happens, it's from your emotional response to it. You assume the worst, create problems in your mind, and let emotions hijack your reason. But emotions are not facts. They are distortions. Take anger. In the moment it feels justified. But later, when the fire cools, you see things differently. You regret what you said, realize you overreacted, and wish you had paused. This is proof that emotions are unreliable. They feel real in the moment, but give it time, and their power fades. Fear is the same. It tells you, you can't do this, you will fail, you are not enough. But how many times have you feared something, only to realize later that it was nothing? Fear is a liar. It magnifies risks, shrinks your confidence, and paralyzes you, not because the danger is real, but because your mind has made it so. The Stoics practiced a simple but powerful technique: emotional detachment. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, faced betrayal, war, and loss, but never let emotions cloud his judgment. He trained himself to pause, reflect, and question. Is this feeling justified? Or is it just a temporary reaction? He understood that clarity comes not from feeling, but from thinking. So how do you see clearly? The answer is separation. You are not your emotions. You are the observer of them. Instead of reacting, step back and ask, is this emotion based on facts or assumptions? Will I feel the same way in a day, a week, a year? Does this emotion serve me or does it control me? By questioning emotions instead of obeying them, you regain control. Instead of being a slave to impulse, you become a master of reason. This is how the Stoics remained unshaken while others crumbled. Imagine making decisions with complete clarity. No fear holding you back. No anger controlling your actions. No sadness clouding your mind. Just pure, deliberate thought. This is true power. Because once you stop believing every emotion that arises, you become untouchable. And once you master this, you will finally understand what it means to live with true wisdom. Number 9. The power of negative visualization. Prepare for anything. What if everything you feared actually came true? What if you lost your job, your health, your loved ones, everything that you hold dear? The thought might paralyze most people with anxiety, but the Stoics saw it differently. They didn't run from these dark thoughts, they embraced them. They used them as tools. Seneca, in his writings, spoke about the practice of negative visualization, a technique that might sound counterintuitive at first. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which depends on the morrow and wastes today. In other words, people waste their lives fearing what could happen tomorrow instead of preparing for it today. So, the Stoics would consciously imagine worst-case scenarios, not to wallow in negativity, but to prepare themselves mentally for life's inevitable hardships. The power of negative visualization lies in its ability to strip away fear by confronting it directly. When you imagine losing everything, you no longer fear the loss itself. It becomes part of the mental preparation that builds resilience. By visualizing the worst, you are mentally training yourself to accept whatever comes your way. And once you accept it, you no longer fear it. Imagine you're about to give a big presentation. You could be consumed by fear, fearing failure, judgment, or rejection. But by practicing negative visualization, you mentally rehearse the worst possible outcome. What if you fail? What if the audience doesn't like you? What if you stumble over your words? By imagining this in detail, you begin to realize that even the worst-case scenario is not the end of the world. You'll survive. You'll recover. The fear dissipates. The Stoics used this technique to protect themselves from being blindsided by fate. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire and facing wars and betrayals, constantly reminded himself that life is unpredictable, and this gave him an unshakable mental fortitude. He wrote, "What happens to you is not what you should worry about. Worry about how you respond to what happens." Take a modern example. You've invested a large sum of money into a business venture. The fear of loss gnaws at you. What if the market crashes? What if you lose everything? Negative visualization allows you to imagine this scenario, losing the money, facing the failure. It forces you to confront the discomfort of loss, but in doing so, it prepares you mentally for it. Suddenly, the fear of losing becomes less daunting. You realize that you will adapt, you will recover, and you will keep going. The Stoics didn't use negative visualization as a way to embrace negativity. They used it as a way to become unfazed by the challenges life throws at you. By preparing for what's uncomfortable, you take away its power. You become immune to the fear of loss because you've already experienced it mentally. Now imagine living without fear of loss, rejection, or failure. Imagine embracing life's uncertainty and still moving forward. This is the power of negative visualization. The ability to prepare yourself for anything, so that when life inevitably throws a curveball, you're not caught off guard. Instead, you'll face it with calm, clarity, and resilience. Once you practice this, you'll understand that no matter what comes, you can handle it. And in that understanding, true freedom emerges. Number 10. You are dying every day. Use it to your advantage. You wake up every morning with a new day, a new opportunity. But what if, instead of seeing today as another routine, you saw it as the last day you'll ever live? How would you act? What would you do differently? What would you say? The truth is, you are dying every day. And most people live as if they are immune to that reality. They put off their dreams, waste time in meaningless pursuits, and cling to comforts, never fully realizing how fleeting life is. But the Stoics had a radically different perspective. They understood that death is inevitable, and because of that, it is the most powerful tool you can wield. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, began each day with a reminder that death could come at any moment. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This awareness wasn't meant to be morbid, it was meant to be liberating. The more you accept that your time is limited, the more precious every moment becomes. Seneca, in his letters to Lucilius, echoed this wisdom when he said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." The problem isn't that life is too short, it's that people waste it. They get lost in trivial concerns, in waiting for the right time, or in thinking there's always more time to achieve what they want. But there is no guarantee of more time. Every moment you waste is a moment you'll never get back. Consider this. You've heard the phrase, "live as if you were dying." The Stoics didn't just hear it, they lived it. For them, the constant awareness of death wasn't a source of fear, it was a source of motivation. When you recognize how quickly time slips away, you stop procrastinating. You stop putting things off. You start living with urgency, with purpose. Every decision, every word, every action counts. You make them matter because you know that today may be the last opportunity you have. Now think about how this applies to your life. If you truly understood that every day is a gift, would you keep scrolling through social media mindlessly? Or would you create something meaningful? Would you continue staying in a job that drains you? Or would you take a leap toward your true passion? Would you waste time in trivial arguments, or would you focus on building relationships that actually matter? The Stoic practice of memento mori, the remembrance of death, is a tool for radical focus. It forces you to cut through the distractions and focus on what is truly important. Because here's the truth. Death is the ultimate reminder that you are not promised tomorrow. When you live with this awareness, you act with intent. You start making choices that reflect what matters most to you, and you stop waiting for the perfect time to do things. You recognize that today is all you have. So ask yourself, how would you live differently if you were dying today? Would you take action? Would you speak your truth? Would you let go of the petty concerns that have been holding you back? Because once you truly accept your mortality, you'll realize that the only time you control is right now. And in that realization, you unlock the power to live with full force, without hesitation or fear. Number 11. Lead yourself first, before you lead others. In a world that constantly pushes for leadership, success, and influence, we often forget one simple truth. You cannot lead others if you cannot lead yourself first. People are quick to chase titles, recognition, and authority, but without mastering self-leadership, those outward achievements are hollow. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the most revered philosophers, often taught that the foundation of all wisdom and leadership is self-discipline. He famously said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." What he meant was that true freedom, true leadership, begins with the ability to control your own thoughts, actions, and emotions. Without self-mastery, all attempts to influence others will falter. Take a moment to reflect. How can you inspire others to be disciplined if you are not disciplined yourself? How can you teach resilience if you don't practice it? How can you show others the path to success if you are constantly distracted or lost in your own chaos? Leadership begins with setting an example, not just in what you say, but in what you do. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This is a lesson in self-leadership. Time is the most valuable resource we have, and it is impossible to lead others effectively if you fail to manage your own. If you waste your time on trivialities, others will follow your lead and do the same. If you lack focus and purpose, how can you expect others to be motivated or driven by the same ideals? Self-leadership means recognizing that your actions are a reflection of your inner state. It is about mastering your impulses, aligning your goals with your values, and taking responsibility for your life. True leaders know that they must be the first to rise early, stay disciplined, and act with integrity. You cannot inspire others to be better versions of themselves if you are not striving to be a better version of yourself each day. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, understood this in his own way. As the ruler of the greatest empire of his time, he faced immense pressures and challenges. Yet he wrote in his journal, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, lead by example. Be the embodiment of the values and virtues you wish to see in others. Now, think of a modern example. Great leaders like Nelson Mandela or Winston Churchill. What made them exceptional wasn't just their ability to lead armies or nations, it was their unwavering commitment to their own personal principles. They were the first to face their fears, the first to persevere, and the first to demonstrate the strength of character needed to guide others through adversity. They led themselves first, and in doing so, they earned the trust, respect, and loyalty of those they led. If you want to be a true leader, you must first ask, am I leading myself in the right direction? Are you living with purpose? Are you taking care of your mental and physical health? Are you staying true to your values even when it's hard? Because once you master the art of self-leadership, you will be able to lead others with authenticity, power, and integrity. True leadership begins within. Only when you lead yourself can you truly lead others. Number 12. The hidden weakness of comfort and ease. In a world that glorifies comfort and ease, it's easy to believe that the ultimate goal is to live a life free from struggle. The modern narrative tells us that the path to happiness lies in minimizing discomfort. Whether that means securing a cushy job, avoiding challenges, or seeking constant pleasure, but the Stoics saw this pursuit for comfort as one of the greatest dangers to personal growth and strength. Seneca, in his writings, warned against the illusion of ease. No man is free who is not master of himself. What he meant was that comfort, when pursued at all costs, weakens the individual. Comfort breeds complacency, and complacency is the enemy of growth. If you constantly seek comfort, you become soft, both physically and mentally. You become afraid of discomfort, avoiding it at all costs, and in doing so, you limit your potential. It's essential to understand the hidden weakness of comfort. Comfort makes you fragile. When everything is easy, when you never face adversity, you lose the ability to endure hardship. Think about it. If you never exercise your muscles, they atrophy. If you never challenge your mind, it stagnates. The same is true for your character. Without hardship, you become weaker, less resilient, and ill-prepared for the inevitable challenges of life. Consider the life of Marcus Aurelius. As an emperor, he faced constant warfare, betrayal, and political intrigue. His life was far from comfortable, and yet, it was in this discomfort that his character was forged. In his meditations, he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He recognized that discomfort and struggle were not obstacles, but opportunities for growth. Life's challenges are what build strength, resilience, and wisdom. Without them, we become stagnant, like a pool of water that's never disturbed. The Stoics intentionally sought out discomfort to strengthen themselves. They knew that hardship was a necessary teacher, one that taught them self-discipline, patience, and endurance. Whether it was fasting, exposing themselves to harsh weather, or seeking out difficult situations, the Stoics embraced discomfort as a way to build character. They understood that in the end, true freedom lies not in avoiding hardship, but in overcoming it. Take a modern example. Think about the gym. To build strength, you intentionally push your body past its comfort zone. breaking down muscle fibers so they can rebuild stronger. The same principle applies to life. The more you seek comfort, the less you grow. You cannot build the mental and emotional strength you need to succeed if you avoid discomfort. If you constantly seek the easy path, you'll never know the depth of your potential. So why do people avoid discomfort? The answer is simple: fear. Fear of pain, fear of failure, fear of uncertainty. But what if you shifted your mindset? What if you saw discomfort not as something to avoid, but as a signal of growth? The next time you face a challenge, instead of running away from it, embrace it. Let it strengthen you. The hidden weakness of comfort is that it makes you fragile, but by stepping into discomfort, you develop the resilience necessary to face life's difficulties. In the end, it is through struggle that we find strength, and it is only through discomfort that we can truly grow. Number 13. Fortify your will, how Seneca overcame adversity. In a world that crumbles under the weight of adversity, how do you remain unshaken? How do you weather life's storms with the same resilience and strength that ancient Stoics like Seneca did? The answer lies in fortifying your will. Seneca's life itself is a testament to the power of mental fortitude, the kind that transforms hardship into fuel for growth. Seneca's journey was not a smooth, easy one. Born into privilege, he eventually fell out of favor with the Emperor Caligula, was exiled to the barren island of Corsica, and later had to navigate the treacherous politics of Rome under the reign of Emperor Nero. Yet through it all, Seneca's mind remained his strongest asset. He wrote extensively about how inner strength, built through self-control and wisdom, could carry a person through any adversity. In one of his letters, Seneca shared a powerful lesson. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. This was the foundation of his philosophy. Adversity is not something to fear or avoid. It is the very source of personal growth. Seneca's exile, often viewed as a severe punishment, became a pivotal moment of transformation in his life. Instead of being broken by it, he embraced it as a challenge, a test of his character. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body, he wrote. What Seneca understood and what most people miss is that hardship doesn't weaken you, it shapes you. Every struggle, every hardship you face is an opportunity to refine your character, sharpen your will, and gain strength. Seneca didn't wait for life's challenges to define him. Instead, he proactively sought out ways to strengthen his will. He practiced self-discipline, embraced discomfort, and constantly reminded himself that external events, no matter how difficult, were beyond his control. What he could control was his response. This is the Stoic path, recognizing that you cannot control the world around you, but you can control how you respond to it. Consider Seneca's approach to loss. In his letter to Lucilius, he discusses the impermanence of life and how losing loved ones is inevitable. Instead of succumbing to grief, Seneca advocated for mental preparedness, for embracing the inevitable with clarity and resolve. He suggested that by contemplating the loss in advance, you strip it of its power to devastate you. By fortifying your mind, you prepare yourself for adversity long before it arrives. In Seneca's life, one thing remained clear. He refused to be a victim of circumstance. No matter how many times he was knocked down by exile, by political intrigue, or by personal loss, he remained resolute in his commitment to his own character and principles. His strength didn't come from external sources, but from his unwavering belief in his ability to control his thoughts, his actions, and his will. So how can you apply Seneca's example in your own life? It starts with recognizing that life is not meant to be easy. Struggles will come, whether it's in your career, your relationships, or your personal growth. But instead of allowing these challenges to break you, see them as opportunities to test and strengthen your resolve. Build your will through consistent effort. Practice self-discipline. Embrace discomfort. And most importantly, never forget that your mind is your most powerful tool in overcoming any adversity. Fortify your will the way Seneca did. Let each trial make you stronger. And remember that adversity, when faced with wisdom and resolve, becomes the very thing that shapes you into the person you are meant to be. Number 14. The ultimate Stoic test. Can you endure it? Life will eventually test you. It's not a matter of if, but when. Adversity comes for everyone, whether it's through loss, failure, pain, or betrayal. But what defines a Stoic is not avoiding hardship, but how one faces it. The ultimate Stoic test isn't simply about surviving tough times. It's about enduring them with grace, wisdom, and inner strength. So can you endure it? Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The Stoics didn't see obstacles as roadblocks. They saw them as opportunities for growth. But to truly understand this philosophy, you must be ready for the ultimate test. To endure not only physical suffering or emotional turmoil, but to maintain your composure, your reason, and your virtue through it all. Consider the greatest tests in history, the battles and struggles that shaped the lives of men like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius. These were not men who were sheltered from life's pain. Epictetus was born into slavery, Seneca faced exile and political danger, and Marcus Aurelius lived through war, plague, and political turmoil. Despite these extreme challenges, they didn't allow external circumstances to dictate their happiness or inner peace. Instead, they transformed these hardships into tests of character. This is the Stoic test, to endure life's trials and maintain inner tranquility. Imagine yourself in the midst of a crisis. Maybe you've lost a job, a loved one, or faced a betrayal. The world around you is in chaos, and the natural instinct is to panic, to become angry, or to fall into despair. But the Stoics would ask, how do you respond? The real test is not how well you weather the storm on the outside, but how you remain unshaken on the inside. The Stoics were masters of emotional resilience, not because they didn't feel pain or anger, but because they understood that these feelings don't have to control you. The Stoic approach to endurance is rooted in control. You cannot control the external events that happen to you, but you can control your response to them. This is the ultimate Stoic power. When you face hardship, ask yourself, what is in my control here? The answer is always your reaction, your thoughts, and your attitude. When you endure a hardship with clarity and calm, you pass the test. When you let anger, fear, or despair take hold, you fail. Take Seneca's life as an example. Exiled to Corsica by Emperor Caligula, he was far from the comforts of Rome. Yet, instead of letting bitterness overtake him, he used the isolation to reflect, write, and grow stronger in his understanding of Stoicism. Even when later called back to Rome and forced to become tutor to Nero, he remained true to his principles despite the political dangers around him. His life is a testament to the Stoic practice of enduring hardship with dignity. He turned every challenge into a lesson. So what is your ultimate test? It may not be as dramatic as exile or war, but life has a way of throwing challenges your way. The Stoic test is to endure these challenges with a steady heart and an unwavering mind. When life pushes you to your limits, will you collapse under the pressure or rise to meet it with wisdom, courage, and control? The ultimate Stoic test is not avoiding difficulty. It's enduring it and emerging stronger, wiser, and unshaken by the forces that threaten to break you. It's not about surviving, it's about thriving in the face of adversity. So ask yourself, can you endure it? The answer is in your response. Number 15. Master yourself, master the world. There's a hard truth few are willing to confront. You cannot control the world, but you can control yourself. And that is where true power lies. People love to talk about mastering external circumstances, claiming that once they have the right job, the right relationships, or the right circumstances, everything will fall into place. But here's the reality. Mastery over the world is an illusion. Mastery over yourself, however, is the only genuine control you can ever possess. Look at any successful individual. Whether they're philosophers, military leaders, or entrepreneurs, what they all have in common is not a mastery of the world around them, but a mastery of themselves. Self-control is the true foundation of power. It's the ability to decide what you'll focus on, how you'll respond to pressure, and how you'll navigate your emotions. The world around you will always be chaotic, unpredictable, and indifferent, but your thoughts, your actions, your reactions, they are yours to command. Take the Stoics. They were not kings or emperors, and their environments were often hostile. Yet they conquered their circumstances not through force, but through mental discipline. Marcus Aurelius faced constant war, personal loss, and political strife. Yet in his meditations he maintained composure, reflecting constantly on how to control his inner state, regardless of external chaos. He was a ruler who knew that power starts within, and that if he could control his mind, he could control how he reacted to anything that came his way. This idea of self-mastery isn't about passive acceptance or ignoring external challenges. It's about taking responsibility for the only thing you truly own, yourself. Every day you have to make a choice. You can react with anger, frustration, or fear to the inevitable obstacles life throws at you, or you can respond with clarity, wisdom, and resolve. Mastering yourself means understanding that the way you react to life is the only thing that truly belongs to you. Everything else is outside of your control, and obsessing over it only weakens you. Self-mastery is about discipline. It's the choice to wake up early and put in the work, even when you don't feel like it. It's about sticking to your principles when everyone around you is compromising theirs. It's about maintaining your calm in a storm of uncertainty when everyone else is losing their minds. You don't become strong by being comfortable, and you don't become powerful by avoiding discomfort. Real strength comes from pushing through the moments that make you question your will, and building the habits, mindset, and resilience that can endure through those challenges. Here's the core of it. If you can master yourself, your thoughts, your impulses, your emotions, then you can master any external situation that comes your way. The external world is volatile and uncontrollable, but your response to it doesn't have to be. The more control you cultivate over yourself, the less you are at the mercy of the world's whims. Mastery of self is the ultimate freedom. Once you claim that, you'll discover that the world becomes much more malleable to your will than you ever imagined. True power is not in controlling others or the world around you. It's in controlling the one thing that you actually have the power to influence: yourself. To master the world, you must first master yourself. The Stoics knew this truth well. True power lies not in controlling external circumstances, but in cultivating the strength and wisdom to control your thoughts, reactions, and actions. Life will always throw obstacles your way, but it is not what happens to you that defines your path, it's how you respond. When you master yourself, you can navigate any storm with clarity and resilience, and in doing so, you unlock the greatest freedom: control over your own mind and actions. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Now I challenge you, start today. Take control of your reactions, strengthen your will, and become the master of your own mind. Apply these Stoic principles in your daily life and watch as you grow stronger, more resilient, and more empowered in every aspect of your existence. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new video on how to live a life of true power and wisdom. I'd love to hear from you. How do you plan to master yourself today? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a conversation on how we can all implement Stoic wisdom in our modern lives. And if you want to dive deeper into Stoic principles and practical applications, be sure to check out our next video on the art of self-discipline, building a stronger you. Master yourself and the world will follow.